Everyone, Phi Farley here, getting my betting pick in for February 28th. In the NBA, we have a big slate of games to pick from. First, before I get started, just real quick, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, liking, let's keep this thing going. I really enjoy getting some picks out there and sharing some comments and talking about the games that we have going on for the night. Yesterday was was on the wrong side of the Kings Trailblazers under. Had it at, 209? But they just got off to a way too fast of start. I was hoping it would be more like the second half, which they only combined for 96 points in the second half. That's how the game should have gone, how I saw it going for the first half, but throwing up 66 in the first half for just Portland, really hard to grab that under. So I actually played a halftime on the under for that. But anyway, it's a loss as far as the play goes. But if you also listened to my video yesterday, I talked about the Bulls. The Bulls for 3 straight games have come out and hung with teams, either being up by 2 points or tied. They did the same thing again yesterday with New Orleans, and then ended up just blowing the second half, completely outscored. Ended up losing by 15, outscored in the second half. So keep that in mind. The halftime spread was 7, and they doubled that number. New Orleans did. That's 3 straight games where that's happened. Keep an eye on that in the future and fading Chicago in the second half while they keep this young lineup going. Now today, I want to look at one game in particular that I really like. Look at Milwaukee traveling to Detroit. Now Milwaukee has come out in the second half here of the season, had just a really tough slate of games to go through. First, they travel to Toronto, and they play at Toronto and go to overtime and win that game outright. Then they have New Orleans at home. They take that game to overtime and lose by 2. Then they get Washington, who's just on a roll, at home and lose in the second half. They played a great second half, great defense in the second half. They lose by a shot. So they've had 3 really tough games, 1 and 2 overall, and they're on a back-to-back going to Detroit. Detroit, on the other hand, has had 3 straight games, also tough games, and they've just gotten blown out in all 3 games. Boston, Toronto as well, and Charlotte. 2 of those games on the road, 1 at home. Can't always blame them for that, but let's look at the trends on how both teams have responded in these situations. First of all, Detroit, coming off a straight-up loss, they are 1-10 against the spread in the following game. They do not respond well after a straight-up loss. Meanwhile, Milwaukee, I really like the statistic. It really shows the endurance of their team. They are on a back-to-back, on the second game of a back-to-back for the season, 8-3. Now, those 3 losses came early in the season. 5-0, the last 5 back-to-backs they've played. They're 5-0. So they really respond well on playing a back-to-back. Not afraid of it. They embrace it and end up doing really well. Now, it also makes a big difference here. They're getting Eric Bledsoe back, or he's been back for the last 2 games. Makes a big difference in how this team is responding. Look for them to carry more momentum after that game they had yesterday, how they played in the second half. They held Washington to 43 points in the second half, which was 3 too many. But they held them to 43 points, and now they're going to go to Detroit, where I look for them to play some really good defense. I do like the under, by the way, in this game as well, but my official pick is Milwaukee on the road. They're getting 1.5, so we'll take it, but don't think they're going to need it. Look for them to go to Detroit and get an outright win. Good luck, everybody, and as always, see you again soon.